God's peace, mercy and blessings be upon you. My name is Muhammad. New video and a new story. But before starting, don't forget to pray for the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Let's begin. My name is Wissam. I am 24 years old. I live with my family in our beautiful house. My family consists of my father and mother, as well as my little brother Karim and my sister Maryam, who is 16 years old. I always love hearing horror stories on the radio or reading them in various magazines, on the internet and so on. In fact, I enjoy a lot of scary stories of jinn, but I had never been exposed to scary situation in my life until that day came. One day I returned from work and heard my father telling me that he had arranged a trip to one of the hotels in the middle of the forest. In fact, I loved the experience of living in it, a hotel in the middle of the forest, where in the morning you can feel the fresh air breeze coming from the trees. The forest, although it may seem dangerous, has unparalleled charm and beauty. Some people may see me as a young child and not a 24-year-old young man, but that is no problem for me. I love traveling, camping and various recreational trips, especially when my family is with me. In fact, I am one of the people who prefer a family atmosphere. We all prepared to travel and the first frightening thing happened to us when we were on the road leading to the hotel in the middle of the forest. About 35 kilometers before we reached the hotel, the car had a sudden breakdown. We were in the middle of the forest and we had to hurry to repair the car, especially since night was approaching and the place was very lonely. Indeed, we were able to repair the car, but the sun was about to set. Darkness fell upon us before we could. We arrived at the hotel and here was the surprise. It was dark and we could only see a little of the distance in front of us. Because of that, my father was driving very slowly so that we would not crash into a tree or an animal. I was looking out the window and suddenly we passed a man wearing black clothes, hiding his face, but he was only looking at me and smiling. The atmosphere was dark and visibility was completely non-existent, but I was sure that I saw something. Not this is the frightening and even frightening thing when that thing appears more than 4 times within a short period. But I convinced myself every time that what I was seeing was not real. We finally arrived at the hotel and we were very tired. My father had reserved 3 rooms, the first for him and my mother, the second for Karim and Maryam, and the third was for me. The reason for that was that the hotel rooms were not that big. The large room allows an entire family to sit together in the room. My room bore the number 88, and for the rest of my life I will never forget that number. We all decided to go to sleep due to being tired and exhausted all day. I quickly fell asleep due to extreme fatigue. And here was the shock. I saw in my dream this thing that appeared to me in the forest with the same specifications. But this time he was holding in his hand a large axe stand with blood. This thing was he looked at me while smiling and said to me words that froze the blood in my veins. If you don't leave this hotel, you will all die. You have to warn them. This thing said these words and disappeared. I immediately woke up terrified. I don't know what to do. Should I tell my father or not? This was the question that occupied my mind throughout the next day. On that day, I was not able to sleep well because of that disturbing nightmare that I had seen. The next day came and the very strange and frightening events began. The next morning I woke up early and went to knock on the door of my parents' room. My father was preparing to go out and take a little walk in the park in front of the hotel. My father asked me to go check on Karim and Mariam. I actually went to their room and knocked on the door. Mariam opened the door and it was there. It seemed that she was sleeping. She entered the room and suddenly Karim was not in the room. We searched for Karim everywhere. My heart did not calm down until I saw Karim playing in the hotel garden. As soon as we saw him, our hearts were at ease. But no one noticed that Karim looked like he was talking to someone. The strange thing is that there was no one there. My family did not notice this thing. Fear for Karim was the feeling controlling them, and therefore no one paid attention to what I paid attention to. We went to Karim in the garden, and my father said, "Why did you leave the room, Karim?" Karim said, "Someone came to me and asked me to get out of bed." I stood on the ground and found myself in the garden. No one believed what Karim said, but I was sure that what Karim was saying might be true. I began to think about whether I should tell my family about what I saw in the forest last night. What did I see in my dream or not? I decided to continue my silence and not tell anyone. Perhaps Karim was afraid that my father would punish him, so he made up a lie. Don't forget to pray for the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Subscribe to the channel, like the video and share your opinions in the comments. We had breakfast and start walking in the forest. The forest was charming and very beautiful. We did not want to go too far from the hotel for fear that any predatory animal would appear to us. While I was walking in the forest, I saw from afar a large hole in the middle of the giant tree. I approached that hole. I wanted very much to enter it to see what was in it. I entered the opening and something extremely terrifying happened to me. When I entered that hole, I saw that thing hidden in it. He was looking at me and suddenly grabbed my hand. This time he was not smiling. That scary creature said to me, "Well, I warned you, and now you will regret it." Then that creature screamed, making me lose consciousness. I woke up in the middle of the forest and I was alone. I started looking for my family everywhere, but I did not find them. I had to return to the city to tell the police. I told the police everything that happened to me, from when I saw that thing in the forest until I lost consciousness. Of course, the police did not believe what I was saying, and despite that, they decided to go to the hotel we were in. The surprise was when the policeman told me the hotel you are talking about is deserted 3 years ago. I asked the policeman to come with me. We actually went there and it was a shock to me. When the hotel was deserted, my family disappeared forever, and the reason was that I did not listen to the advice of that creature. I know love alone. The second story. Ahmed began his speech by saying, "Do you know that in every house there are jinn and devils, and that they inhabit bathrooms, and some of them are good and some of them are evil?" Muhammad was amazed at his speech, saying, "I don't believe this nonsense, and I don't believe in many of the stories that many people circulate. I believe in jinn and demons, but the stories I hear are greatly exaggerated." Khalid, what Ahmed told us is very true, and I have proof of what he says. My mother never neglects to perform the dawn prayer on time throughout her life, and one day she got up from her sleep to perform ablution. And our house has 2 bathrooms, one of which we asked to relieve ourselves, and the other for bathing and washing. And while my mother was performing ablution, I noticed the sound of water coming from the bathroom in which we were washing. So she thought that one of us had left it running. So she went to turn off the water, but she saw a strange-looking woman holding a mop and cleaning the bathroom. She was giving my mother her bag, and when my mother approached her to ask her who you were and what you were doing in my house, the woman turned to her, and she looked frightening, with eyes that looked very similar to the eyes of cats. I told her, "She is from the world of the jinn and has been living in the bathroom for a long time, but someone urinated in the bathroom." I told her that the matter had bothered her a lot, especially since she is one of the believing jinn who worships God alone and has no partner. I told her that she enjoys a quiet life with them, but if this happens again, she will be forced to leave the house. When we woke up in the morning, my mother asked us who had done this. My little brother had told her that when the second bathroom was occupied, he would go to relieve himself in the bathroom. Since that day, my mother had paid great attention to the cleanliness of this bathroom in particular. A third story. Let's start. Muhammad, you know I don't like talking about stories of jinn and devils at all. Ahmed and Khalid were amazed at his condition. Basically, he is the strongest among them and is not afraid of anything. So how can the stories of the jinn terrify him in this way? While they were talking, silence prevailed between them to the point that if a needle had fallen between them, the sound would have echoed. They all felt a heaviness in their bodies, as if something suspicious was waiting for them and approaching them. Suddenly the fire died down for no reason and without warning, and after that they heard a strange sound, as if it were the screams of a woman, sometimes calling for help and sometimes threatening for them. They found themselves barely able to get up from their place. One of them most regretted mentioning these stories was Muhammad. Each one of them dispersed to his home, and on this night, which was the most difficult night in Muhammad's life, during which he could not sleep and could not enter the bathroom, absolutely, and every time he remembered his friend's stories about jinn and devils. These stories are over. I hope they terrified you. Don't forget to pray for the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Subscribe to the channel, like the video and share your opinions in the comments. Peace, mercy and blessings of God.